This bloodshed must end. This bloodshed will end.
He has been singularly focused on the threat of radical Islamic terrorism. He has never wavered from it.
How many more people need to die before the left and the mainstream media call out the root cause?
The political correctness that we experience here in America prevents us from holding the Muslim community responsible.
This isn't a war on Muslims, Christians. It's not a war on one religion. This is a war on terrorism. You're not going to hashtag these people away.
If you keep getting hurt by mosquito bites, at some point you decide to start killing mosquitoes.
We have to crush them in their heartland.
We love you so much. If you like the way you look that much, oh baby, you should go and love yourself.
We went big with our new home. Welcome to Studio F. In the heart of Midtown Manhattan, it's Fox and Friends from Studio F.
2 floors.
Yeah.
It's going to be great for our quads and our long-term cardiovascular conditioning, but I would like an elevator.
Why?
Because I don't want to have to walk. We shouldn't have.
There's
one floor.
There's one over there. Or you can take the stairs.
But the elevator's only used, it's like a dumbwaiter, right? You just got to keep on bringing.
Really?
Yeah. You know what they're called? I mean, you only bring up equipment with it.
There you go.
We're so excited. This is amazing. This was the election studio. It's huge. It's beautiful. We're upstairs on the 2nd floor. And then down there, we've got our living room and our kitchen. And if you're walking in front of Fox News on 6th Avenue, you can peek your head in.
Yep. We asked you what you thought, and we got an email from Norman who writes, your new studio is great, but after watching you for about 20 years, I would watch if you broadcast.
Oh, that's great.
So sweet.
We might be soon.
That's a great idea.
Well, she's not in Hayfield, but she is on the lawn, I believe. Kellyanne Conway joins us from the north lawn of the White House. There you go. Kellyanne, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Congratulations on your new crib. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Of course, we've done some infrastructure work here at Fox with the new studio.
That's catching.
That's right. Today kicks off Infrastructure Week at the White House. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, because I know the first thing is going to be for the president to suggest to privatize the air traffic controllers.
It's really an exciting week, and thanks for giving it coverage. Nobody else seems to want to. Even last week, Secretary of Transportation Elaine Chao announced over $500 million in infrastructure investments at over 500 airports in this country, which of course enhances security, safety, convenience, improving our runways, improving frankly, the protocols and the way that air traffic controllers speak to each other, the way that our nation's infrastructure works. And this is actually something that impacts real lives. You just don't hear about it because it's not in a tweet, or it's not a snark that people on other networks can put against the president. But thank you for covering it, because when the president was running and when he was president-elect and now is president, he has made very clear his commitment to improving infrastructure. And Secretary Chao has been a leader here, too. They've been talking about the sort of Byzantine labyrinth permitting process we have in this country, the fact that we don't build anything anymore as a country, that our roads and our bridges are in disrepair. So it's just a very exciting thing that people will literally see the fruits of those promises beginning today.
Right, Kellyanne, the president tweeted the Justice Department should ask for an expedited hearing of the watered-down travel ban before the Supreme Court and seek much tougher versions. He also tweeted, in any event, we are extreme vetting people coming into the U.S. in order to help keep our country safe. The courts are slow and political. What is your reaction?
Well, the president has made very clear from the beginning of his candidacy and now his presidency, Ainsley, that his first duty is the safety and security of the American people. An attack on London is an attack on American values, and we stand with our allies there. But the president's frustrations really reflect the frustrations and the fears of many Americans and Brits and freedom-loving people all over the world who don't want this to be the new normal. There are 21 attacks in the last couple years that ISIS, really since Charlie Hebdo or so, that ISIS has claimed claim responsibility for. Whether the attack 36 hours ago in London was ISIS-directed or ISIS-inspired, it remains the same, that terrorists have the upper hand in some of these situations where, whether they're children standing in line for candy after a Bastille celebration in Nice, or people just having dinner out in Paris or waiting for a concert to start, innocent people in Brussels, and of course in Manchester at a concert, and now in London. This cannot be the new normal. And this president got elected in large part because he was the tougher person on national security and defeating radical Islamic terrorism. He, of course, is willing to actually say the words. You name it and then you defeat it. Hillary Clinton referred to them as our, quote, determined enemies in her convention speech last July. And imagine if the mainstream media, every time they said Russia, said ISIS. Every time they said Twitter, said terrorist. How different it might be. Right.
Just speaking of Russia, the last week there was talk of setting up a quick reaction team with like a Russian group within the White House. Would be headed up by, I guess, the lawyer handling that for the president. Has any progress been made on that?
No, I would refer all questions about that investigation to the lawyer, Mr. Kasowitz. But in terms of a strategy to combat all the negative and the speculation and what the Washington Post even referred to, or somebody referred to this weekend as a nothing burger, so far, all this speculation, maybe an outside group handles it, maybe inside. But look, this White House will continue to be on offense and defense. And offense includes shaming people or guilting them or telling them to be responsible by covering things like the infrastructure investment. What about last week? Secretary of the VA, David Shulkin, announced a new hotline here for veterans at the White House. These veterans can call in. It got very little coverage because it's a positive. But you know what, folks? The opposite of negative coverage is not just positive. The opposite of negative is relevant. And I am duty-bound to make sure that the American people are hearing all the positive things that are happening here on their behalf. And those are two very quick examples that actually happened on the same day last Wednesday. There are examples like that every single day. You know, at the beginning of every press briefing, Sean Spicer, our press secretary, and I'm sure Sarah Sanders today will do the same thing, they give a whole list of positive things that are happening, action that's being taken by the different departments and agencies. It gets very little coverage. So I'm hoping that people will cut out the middleman, go right to our website, watch these press briefings at the beginning as well, not just the combative Q&A, so they can learn exactly what's happening that has real people impact.
Good point. Well, so the White House, this White House is on offense. Meanwhile, the last White House is on offense against this White House. Susan Rice was on This Week yesterday, and she said that the president's temporary travel ban would actually lead to more trouble. Listen to this, Kellyanne.
There's really no evidence to suggest that by banning Muslims or banning Muslims from a particular set of 6 countries that we would make ourselves here in the United States safer. I think there's a very real risk that by stigmatizing and isolating Muslims from particular countries and Muslims in general, that we alienate the very communities here in the United States whose cooperation we most need to detect and prevent these homegrown extremists from being able to carry out attacks. They need to feel that they are valued and part of this challenge that we face together as a nation.
Kellyanne, it's not a Muslim ban.
That's right, and she knows better. Susan Rice reminds everybody that no one on TV is under oath. She knows better that it's not a Muslim ban, and I would say that her comments yesterday are just really parallel to the lies she told after the Benghazi attack, which took the lives of 4 innocent Americans. She, when she lied there that it was about a video, she knows it's not a ban against a certain religion. She knows very clearly that these are 6 countries that were identified by her Obama administration departments, and that these 6 countries do not have screening and vetting procedures in place that give us confidence that what's happening around the globe wouldn't happen here. The president has constitutional authority and he has statutory authority very clearly. Everybody go read the statute, 1188 U.S. Code 1182. Go pull it up today. Geek out with me. But read the statute. It very clearly shows the president has the authority to keep people out when temporarily when there is a reason. In this case, the reason is the lack of screening and vetting procedures from countries that harbor and train and export terrorists.
But Kellyanne, the 90 days would be up already, even if it was implemented as it originally was in the in the broader context. Have we made any progress in setting up a system that would help us stay safe with these 6 terror-laden nations?
This president and his national security team do feel like progress is being made. I mean, first of all, they're much more vigilant and serious about it than has been done in the past. And secondly, you see that these national security enhancements and even domestic security enhancements are responsible for everything from 60% decrease in illegal border crossings at the southern border to people feeling safer, to a lot of these would-be terrorists, I think, seeing what's going on here now and thinking thrice. But look, there's homegrown terrorists. There's people being radicalized on the internet. We're also, I know our national security team is very vigilant about working with the tech on tech procedures and protocols. Why? Because even one of these savage, evil murderers from Saturday night in London was reportedly, according to Telegraph UK last night, was reportedly called out by 2 neighbors as being radicalized. His friend reported him to the authorities by saying, my friend is radicalized. He's been watching YouTube videos and he's radicalized. A different neighbor said that this savage murderer, now dead, was trying to radicalize her 3 small children at a playground.
Yeah, Kellyanne, the president is saying he's trying to prevent a terrorist attack here or another one from happening here. He wants to keep families safe. He's going to eradicate ISIS. But then you have Thomas Roberts, who is one of the journalists at MSNBC. He's suggesting that the president is trying to provoke terror in here. Listen to this.
The president doesn't want us to be politically correct, right? So let's not be PC about this. Is the president trying to provoke a domestic terrorist attack with this Twitter rant, because only to prove himself right?
What's your reaction to that?
Well, does he have a job today? I mean, that is really over the top, even by those standards. Think about what he said. And think about the accusation he's making. In other words, I was asked on the flagship show on NBC earlier today if the president should apologize to the mayor of London. And this man is suggesting that he suggested, I won't repeat it because it's so defamatory. But you know what? This president should apologize for what? For trying to keep us all safe and secure? For what? For calling out radical Islamic terrorism for what it is? For saying last night at Ford's Theater, where I was there in the room when he said, we will stand with the UK and the bloodbath stops. We will bring to justice the perpetrators and we will become more vigilant. And again, an attack on the UK is an attack on us. But look, for people on TV to be saying what they're saying, a CNN anchor yesterday calling the president an expletive, Kathy Griffin, also of CNN, doing what she did last week, which is really over the top, and then blaming the Trump family. I mean, people are really losing their minds over this presidency instead of trying to cover the things that he's doing to help all Americans and really coming together. Let me tell you something. Defeating terrorism and putting ISIS truly in retreat and eliminating them from the face of the earth should be a nonpartisan issue in search of bipartisan support. And when you hear things like that and people still keep their jobs, it's truly remarkable.
All right. Kellyanne Conway joining us from the North Lawn on this, the Monday of Infrastructure Week at the White House. Kellyanne, go get your hard hat. Got a busy day building stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kellyanne. Great to see you. The video is insane. A man jumps inside a moving car. The reason why and what happens next, we'll tell you.
Plus, remember this campaign promise?
You're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
Governor Mike Huckabee says President Trump has been winning since he took office. So why is no one talking about that? He will next. Plus, we have David Bossie and
Congressman Jason Chaffetz this hour, Fox and Friends, live from our new home.
All right, President Trump is a leader who loves to win.
You're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
And is he indeed on a winning streak with huge successes of his first foreign policy trip, according to some, and withdrawing from the Paris climate deal under his belt, which is a victory for many on the right? How does he keep up that streak if indeed he is on one? Former 2016 presidential candidate and former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, joins us. Governor, do you look at this president as on a winning streak leading up to what could be a difficult week?
Well, every week is difficult for Donald Trump because the press hate him. The Democrats are doing everything they can to show this resistance movement. But despite that, the stock market hit record highs. Look at all the things that's happened. Everybody said he didn't have a chance to get the nomination or the election. He got the nomination and the election. He said he would appoint strict constitutionalists to the Supreme Court. It's exactly what he did. He said he would implement extreme vetting on immigrants. He did it, even though the courts had tried to block him. If you look at the fact that he said that the government surveilled his campaign, a lot of people scoffed at that. Now they find out, well, yeah, they did. Over and over, whether it's his historic overseas trip or it's the reversal of the Paris climate deal, this is a president who has done what he has said, and he is winning. But more importantly, it's not about him winning. It's about the American public winning. And so we're seeing jobs come back, lowest unemployment numbers. These are good things. So I don't think we're going to get tired of winning. I have to correct the president. We don't get tired of it. We want to see some more.
How does he handle this week in which he wants to talk infrastructure and terror because those things are priorities, but knowing that James Comey's testimony looms on Thursday and it might be some of the highest ratings you're going to see anywhere?
Well, it might be. And I think while there's an interest and fascination with the Comey hearings, quite frankly, I don't think most Americans are that concerned about what James Comey said or heard when he was having a meeting with the president of the White House, because if he'd heard something that he thought was inappropriate, it was his responsibility to immediately report it. The fact that he didn't, and the fact that he and other people in the Justice Department repeatedly said that there had been no pressure whatsoever to pull from the investigations, I don't think the president has as much to worry about as perhaps Mr. Comey does.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be, as usual, a crazy week, but unfortunately we're coming off another terror attack over the weekend. Governor Mike Huckabee, congratulations on your next show, and I look forward to seeing you again, and good luck to your daughter today as she gives she is the press secretary today. Thanks so much, Governor.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, straight ahead. 7 people are dead, dozens more wounded in the latest UK terror attack. But many in the media are still obsessed about the Russia investigation. So, are they missing the big story? Former Trump deputy campaign manager David Bossie, fresh out of the White House, he's next. And we have Utah Congressman, Chairman of Oversight, Jason Chaffetz, live.
Good morning. Welcome back to Fox and Friends on this Monday. Here's a quick look at your headlines. Several schools across the nation are trying to keep kids in the classroom longer. They hope to do that by making kindergarten mandatory and increasing the legal dropout age. Those opposed think the parents should have the final say. And Democrats have another reason to cry come 2018. Pew researchers say people in the largest voting demographic are more likely to remain loyal to the Republican Party than those who identify as Democrats. That means Dems will have a very hard time winning back seats in both the House and the Senate. Ainsley?
All right, thank you so much, Jillian. Well, overnight, police in London conducting more raids, arresting 2 more suspects that are tied to the deadly terror attacks as ISIS is taking credit.
But the big story, according to some members of the mainstream media, climate change, Russia's alleged involvement in the elections. And we wonder, is the media off message once again? Here to weigh in, former deputy campaign manager to Donald Trump and Fox News contributor David Bossie joins us from Gray, Washington, D.C. David, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Do you buy that some members of the mainstream media, they hate the president so much, they really just want to talk about whatever's going on in the world. They want to talk about Russia. They want to talk about Comey. They want to talk about climate change.
Well, certainly, this has gone back to the campaign. They have obsessed with this president, then candidate Trump, then President-elect Trump during the transition. They can't focus on the fact that the American people chose Donald Trump to lead this country at a time that we are in a very precarious place at home and abroad. And it's because of the weak policies of Barack Obama that put us here, whether it's his whether it was his horrible economic policies or foreign policy or his military policies, this president has taken the last several months to just stand up an administration to get things back on track, and that's why he doesn't care what CNN and MSNBC and these others out there that are just literally have nothing positive to say about him, will not cover him honestly and positively, and the Democrat Party, right, has just become a permanent obstruction campaign. They can't come up with one policy that the American people want, but President Trump is leading through his actions.
So, by the way, no one's talking about this, but on Face the Nation, the leader of NATO came here, and it looked as though they were being set up to eviscerate Donald Trump and see what a bad leader is. Instead, he said he has gotten people to pay up. He has put more emphasis, money, and troops into Europe than any time since World War II. And he also says you don't need to bring up Article 5 because it's insinuated that if you're a part of NATO, it's one for all and all for one. No one brings that up. But when his own ambassador in England is not his ambassador and comes out against him, does it come back again, David Bossie, to the president's got to get quicker in hiring people and putting his own people in place?
Yeah, I know the president is focused on getting good people, his people, in place, but it has to move at a quicker pace. And I would urge the cabinet secretaries to really pick up the pace on their part, because I know the White House can send names over to departments, and it really is, we've seen this over the last several months, is they are a little slow because they're trying to stand up their agencies, and I would urge them to really help the White House in filling these roles out and taking a much more aggressive role.
But the ambassadorships come from the president.
Without question, but, the State Department always wants you to allow people, especially these non-political types, to stay in these roles, whether it's the number 2 role or the number 3 role, during the transition of power, which is usually, when it comes to ambassadors, the first 6 months of an administration. It's not just by January 20th. It really takes a long time because they all need Senate confirmation.
David, the president is tweeting about the Supreme Court needs to expedite that travel ban. What's the latest there? Have you heard anything?
Well, look, the Department of Justice needs to move expeditiously towards the Supreme Court in getting a ruling to give the President of the United States his constitutional authority back, something that these left-wing liberal groups have tried to take away and handcuff the President. Okay. We need a travel ban. We must have our borders secure, whether it's a physical wall at every place that they can enter. We need to have it, and I don't understand how many attacks does it take before the left will get their heads out of the sand.
Hey, David, before you go, I got a feeling you don't want to talk about this, but your name has been mentioned a couple of times as maybe expanding your role outside the White House as like a rapid response spokesperson, etc., for the president. Is there anything to that?
Well, look, I'm honored and humbled by the president and his team wanting to talk to me about helping them out. And I've been, at the president's side since he was a candidate, long before he was a candidate. So I am wanting to help him through these tough times with all of the, when I say tough times, it's just the media constant grinding, the Democrats being obstructionists, to try to break through that so that we can lead for the American people and bring back jobs, build our economy, and strengthen us at home and abroad. And I want to help him do that.
That's a
whatever way that works out. It's yet to be seen.
So if he offers you the job, you'll take it.
Well, I don't know what the job will be, but guys, I think that I'm here to help him,
sure.
and I'm here to, and I'm certainly open to whatever he wants me to do.
All right,
David, you'll be glad to know this interview is now over.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Ultimately, we'll have to sign off on it, for it to release him.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, we have heard from our president on the latest UK terror attack, but who in Congress, who is ready to step up and fight radical Islam with him? Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz joins us next.
Come on in. And former Vice President Al Gore facing an inconvenient question on climate change. Watch this.
Take your time. There's a girl.
A true planetary emergency. We're 11 years later. No, weren't you wrong?
His response to that burning question coming up next, live from Studio F in the heart of Midtown Manhattan.
Coming up.
But don't you miss the day?
Don't turn around, 'cause you're gonna see my heart break. Don't turn around, I don't want you seeing me now. 24-karat magic in the
This was a song that he requested to be brought in by. This is the chairman for a few more days.
I have some demands, and this is one of them.
Right,
that's why I'm here.
I mean, Derek Jeter had his own music. All the players go when they get up to bat, and you have yours when you're being introduced.
And you would be dancing if you didn't have foot surgery a few weeks ago, right?
I did have foot surgery, but they filleted me open, pulled out 14 screws I had in my foot, but they put me back together. It's amazing.
Phillips head?
Yeah, actually, you get them at Home Depot. They're really pretty good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Theresa May says that's it. This has got to stop. She indicated that she thinks social media is the issue. There has to be some constraints. Is she right, wrong, or wrong tree?
Look, the Oversight Committee, which I'm on, and by the way, our hearts go out to the people in London, and
They were
you
brutalized.
just can't even imagine. But let's remember that over the last several years, in the Oversight Committee alone, of which I happen to have chaired, we have begged the administration to look at social media when people apply for visas. We have begged them to look at federal employees. This is social media, and yet we've had a hesitancy as a federal government to even look at that material. Well, but it's social. It's totally counter to privacy. When you put it out there and you're going to get a visa, shouldn't you look at their social media accounts before you decide whether or not that person can come to the United States?
Absolutely. We had Sebastian Gorka on about an hour ago, and he said this administration is now essentially super vetting people who are coming into the country because of just that. He said the San Bernardino people, the last administration would not look at social media.
Look, the Obama administration for 8 years was just saying, look, we got to be nicer, we got to be softer. Remember, this is the administration that said, the Obama administration said this is the JV team. There's basically nothing to worry about. The Obama administration was trying to give Libyans visas to come to the United States to study nuclear sciences and aviation. And we had to fight that back. And so the attitude, the shift within our federal government, I think America gets it. That's why Donald Trump is the president of the United States. That was a main driving thing.
He's saying the heck with political correctness. So what is Congress doing to annihilate ISIS like he wants to do?
Well, look, I'm proud of the fact that we did plus up the military, homeland security, billions of dollars in addition to what had been there in the past. The Obama administration has got a major shift that they've got to have, an attitude adjustment within the bowels of those organizations. But I also think that the major problem right now is in the judicial branch, because Congress has clearly given the president, he not only has constitutional authority, but the president has statutory authority in order to make sure that the people that come to this country are properly vetted. And so it's very frustrating to look over to the judicial branch, a handful of people who are hold them back.
Sure. Remember, James Comey said there was investigations in all 50 states when he was. Remember, when he was just FBI director and wasn't a politician or a prosecutor, and he said it bothers him. We had the Secretary of Homeland Security say, if you know what I knew, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And then we see what happened in London. Why haven't there been more attacks here?
Well, there is a lot of good work that our intelligence community, Homeland Security, and others do, and our local law enforcement. I think part of the role of Congress is to make sure that they're connecting those dots. What we found, for instance, in Boston is that the federal government had a lot of information, but they didn't share it with the local cops. And a lot of times it's going to be Boston and New York and Philly and L.A. It's going to be those law enforcement agencies that actually have the boots on the ground that can go into those communities and look at them. And we also need the communities to step up.
Has that changed? That's pretty scary that they weren't working together.
Well, we hope so. I mean, it's very difficult. There are lots of issues out there, and there are literally tens of thousands of people that they're watching to one degree or another. That was the situation in the UK, and so you hope they are, but you got to give them the tools and the resources.
Am I right? You talked to James Comey since he was fired?
I did. I did have a conversation with him. I encouraged him to come testify before the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He's taking, I think, the path of least resistance, going to Senate Intel. I hope they pepper him with some very tough questions.
What do you think it'll be like?
It's hard to do this hearing without seeing the documents, and so there's this new question now with Mueller involved. Is the Department of Justice actually going to share those documents? Yeah. But you have former Director Comey and the acting director both have said there have been no impediments, no political influence. So it's pretty hard for them to come back now and say, well, there was political influence by the president when they previously testified under oath saying that there had been.
Did Comey admit to you that he does have those notes? He takes those memos or those notes out?
No, I asked him very specifically. I said, where are those notes? Are they at the Department of Justice? Are they at your home? And he said he would not comment on that.
He wouldn't say if he had them or didn't have them?
He would not talk about it at all.
All right. You are leaving your chairmanship at House Oversight, leaving the House of the People at the end of the month. Do you have a job yet? Are you on Monster.com all day long?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Julie's afraid, my wife, who's standing right over there, she's worried that I'm going to be home fixing things. That's
Stay off the ladder.
On my radio show, we have ZipRecruiter, so I think you should try that.
All right. Fair enough.
That's why they say you can't retire, because then you're home together. You're used to being apart. All right. We wish you all the best.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Time now for some news, Jillian.
You can use LinkedIn as well. So any of the above will work. Good morning to you guys. To you at home as well. An Oklahoma man is shot dead by a neighbor as he tries to drown his 3-month-old twins, a boy and a girl, in a bathtub. Leland Foster shot twice in the back as police say he held the babies underwater and threatened their mother with a knife. A child inside the home running to that neighbor for help. He was questioned by police but released. The twins will be okay. Former VP Al Gore getting some inconvenient truths of his own, courtesy of our Chris Wallace.
You said unless we took, quote, drastic measures, the world would reach a point of no return within 10 years, and you called it a true planetary emergency. We're 11 years later. No, weren't you wrong?
So how did he respond? Take a look.
Unfortunately and regrettably, a lot of serious damage has been done. We are going to suffer some of these consequences, but we can limit and avoid the most catastrophic consequences if we accelerate the pace of change that's now beginning.
A new segment is being added to Gore's upcoming sequel film to account for President Trump's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. You got to take a look at this video. It's an incredible moment caught on camera. An Illinois man dives headfirst into a moving car to save a stranger's life, suffering a seizure at the wheel. Now you can see the car run a red light and continue to slowly move into oncoming traffic. Right there you can see his feet. Driver going the opposite way, he noticed, gets out of his car and jumps into the passenger window. That is absolutely incredible when you see video like that, guys. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, thank you
And
very
we're joined
much.
by Julie, Jason Chaffetz. Beautiful, lovely wife.
Got my better half.
You're going to have him home for a while, right?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
He's going to drive you crazy for a while.
He might. That's okay. I'm going to put him to work.
At least he'll be in one city at a time.
Yes. Well, I know you're proud of him. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll talk to you guys on radio. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, British Prime Minister Theresa May changing her tone in the war on terror, kinda.
There is, to be frank, far too much tolerance of extremism in our country.
But is it too little, too late?
And Pete is having breakfast with friends in Plainfield, Connecticut. Hey, Pete.
That is right. We're at the Old American Diner here. President Trump's up tweeting early this morning. We're reading him. We're going to ask Alan and Gloria and others about it. Alan, a veteran of Vietnam, the big red one, as you can see on his hat. We've been talking about President Trump, what's really going on in this country right now. And also, I've got a big old prime rib and eggs on my plate. Who here has had the prime rib? Oh, we got some fans. I'm telling you, it's solid. I'm going to eat it, and we're going to talk to these great folks. Get there in a second.
Once upon a time, I referred to him as Pancake Pete. Well, today he is Prime Rib Pete, and he is at the Old American Diner in Plainfield, Connecticut. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. I love that fancy new studio, but we love the great people here at Plainfield and Windham County, a county that went for President Trump for the first time for a Republican since George H.W. Bush in 1988, and it went overwhelmingly so because of the support of a lot of independents and Democrats. Alan, you describe yourself as an independent, a Vietnam veteran yourself. Why did you first initially support President Trump, and how do you think he's doing?
Because the way he was going to take care of the military and the country.
And how do you think he's doing so far?
He's doing great, just that he has a lot of rough roads with that rest of the Democrats.
Why do you feel like he faces so much opposition from the swamp?
Because of the way they've been all the years for themselves.
more for themselves and for the rest of the country.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, Gloria, I want to ask you a quick question. Good morning.
Good morning.
And he's been up tweeting. This president's been up tweeting this morning. And you mentioned that you like that he tweets and he gets his word out there.
I do.
He tweeted, the people, the lawyers, and the courts can call it whatever they want, but I'm calling it what we need and what it is, a travel ban. Do you like his emphasis on a travel ban, especially in light of London?
Yes, I do. And I feel that this should have been done long ago. We have just let anybody and everybody come in, and I'm not against immigrants coming in. My great-grandparents are immigrants from Germany, but the thing is, we have to know who's coming in to keep our country and our families safe.
President also tweeting this morning about political correctness, that he doesn't want the watered-down, politically correct version. He said it yesterday as well. How dangerous has political correctness been?
It has put such a, shall I say, dent in our country. People are, unfortunately, I'm not one of them, but so many people are afraid of saying what they think because they'll be criticized or whatever. I say what I think with diplomacy.
With the diplomacy, well said. Well, we're here at the Old American Diner. Thank you both very much. Anna, how you doing? Anna's the owner of the Old American Diner. It happens to be her 40th birthday this morning. Is that right?
39.
39? I went high, but the Old American Diner has been amazing. Thank you for hosting us all morning, and happy birthday to you. I know Brian Ainsley and Steve in the studio. They want to wish you a happy birthday as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
A great
for
small
coming.
business here in Plainfield, a wonderful community that is hoping that jobs and everything that this country needs are coming back.
Great.
So, Anna, thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday. We're glad you were born. So
There you go.
sweet.
Yeah.
Working hard for her family.
That's right. And Pete is so smart. He knows if he mentions her name, he gets free breakfast. If he doesn't, no, he's
He wasn't going to pay anyway.
All right, British Prime Minister Theresa May changing her tone in the war on terror. But is it too little too late? Our panel of military experts is going to weigh in on that coming up next.
But first, news expert Bill Hemmer, who worked
guys.
Sunday, did a great job, has
you.
the latest for his show.
Yeah,
next
morning
hour.
to all three of you. Beautiful studio, by the way. We'll be by to steal the furniture. So nail it down. Big morning of reporting. Realism versus idealism. Today it is England, tomorrow where? Complete coverage on what we are learning today. Also, what will James Comey say this week? It's a big week there. Is there a smoking gun? We'll take that on today. The media had a bad weekend. We'll tell you who is apologizing now. Get ready for a whole new week. We start in 10 minutes, guys. We'll see you then. Top of the hour right here.
There is, to be frank, far too much tolerance of extremism in our country.
There you've got British Prime Minister Theresa May seemingly taking a tougher stance on Islamic extremism after the third attack on the United Kingdom in the last 10 weeks. But is it too little too late? Our panel is back with us. We've got New York Assemblyman and Marine Corps veteran, far left, screen-wise, Kieran Lawler. We've got former CIA operative Mike Baker in the middle, and former U.S. diplomat Morgan Ortagus. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
So what do you make of Theresa May, Kieran, yesterday saying, okay, now we need to be less tolerant of extremism?
Yeah, I definitely think it's too little too late, but it doesn't mean it's not a positive step in the right direction. You know, there has to be policies that go with her stronger words now. For example, you know, we've talked about lone wolves over the years, but usually they're known wolves, and we know who they are. And I know here in New York and in the United States, what we've done, our law enforcement agencies have done, is go back on cold cases and say, was there anything we missed? Is there any development in this case? And try to reopen any cases that are hot again. Those are the kind of policies that have to follow up those tough words.
Mike, all they would have had to have done was turn on the television, because one of these killers, who now dead, was featured in a TV show called The Jihadis Next Door. So what do you make of the way she's been prosecuting the war on terror in the UK?
Well, they have the laws that they have based on what they're willing to do, what the public is willing to put up with in terms of security. There's a pendulum that keeps swinging back and forth between security and civil liberties and privacy issues. And typically, that thing is always being calibrated based on the public's perception of the threat. After an attack, after a series of attacks, that pendulum swings over towards security, and they're willing to put up with a bit more. Now, frankly, we're all like raccoons chasing a shiny object. We don't have that much patience, so the pendulum goes back towards civil liberties after a short period of time. She said the right thing. She said what she needed to say in terms of enough is enough. And Kieran's also absolutely right in the sense that now it has to be backed up, because they can only work within the confines of the laws that exist, just like the Bureau here.
Absolutely. Morgan, final word?
Listen, I would say
say when it comes to Theresa May, we learned in November that you have a binary choice often in these elections. And for Jeremy Corbyn, he's been on the record saying that ISIL supporters should not be prosecuted for their speech, in the UK. Again, we were just talking about civil liberties and what that means. But I think the U.S., NATO, all of our allies are going to have to take a very hard look at what's put on television, what's put on cyberspace, what's put on social media. I don't think that we're attacking it, as I said earlier today, as if this were a battle that we would have in Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria. We need to look at cyberspace that way. If we continue to allow these young millennial social media savvy terrorists to recruit people online, we're going to continue to play whack-a-mole.
I think you're right about that. All right, Karen, Mike, and Morgan, thank you very much.
Good morning.
All right. We're going to step aside, back into the new studio in 2 minutes.